Hello, I'm Brian Skinner with Informed.Entrepreneur.com. I'm here today with Ken Blumberg of Kenny B Photography in Stratford, Connecticut. I appreciate you talking to us today, Ken.
Pleasure.
Can you give us the nutshell version of how you got started professionally in photography?
Professionally, on a Friday night in the photo section of the New York Daily News, where I worked for many years right out of college, we were playing poker, penny poker. And the guy before me couldn't cover his bet and threw his camera into the pot to cover his bet. The next pot I won, and I took the camera. Didn't give it back to him when he wanted to buy it back the next day, but I took the camera and I took the money from the pot and I bought lenses and camera cases and tripods and lights, and I bought the whole kit and caboodle. About 2 weeks later, I was a stringer for the drama editor, and a drama editor in a newspaper can only be in one seat at a time. So if she gets appointments for 4 different things going on in the city, she'll give to a stringer the tickets. So I went and I was there with the Lupus Stallions at the Madison Square Garden. Well, it was a cold day, and I came in quickly, and at that moment the lights came down and these beautiful, magnificent white horses came out from behind this blue background, and I quickly took out my camera and I put the lens on and I got everything together. I popped the picture as soon as I could with the horse going back in a hi-oh silver kind of way, and son of a gun, who knew that the coldness outside had affected the lens as it came inside, and it fogged over, and the jewels and the hooves of the horses were illuminated in starbursts. Who knew? Well, my girlfriend knew when she had developed the film for me, and took it to a friend of hers across the street who worked for Kodak, and 2 weeks later I won my first national photo contest. Duh.
You just took it from there.
And it just went from there. 2 weeks after that, I had my first front page picture in the news, and then it really took off. Parties and babies, and if anybody wanted to stand in front of my camera, I'd take it, because
What you love to do.
Oh, I love it. There was my favorite story is there was a thing here in Connecticut, a company here in called Moto Photo, and they had these little booths inside every parking lot, and the deal was that if you paid for the developing, if you didn't like your pictures for any reason, they would give you the money back. So I literally went through hundreds and hundreds of rolls of film, and all I had to pay was the development cost. And if I wanted to keep one picture, I kept 1 out of 36, but I learned my craft. I learned what I was doing. Then as soon as I came from my travels, which is another whole story altogether, where I traveled the United States of America from one end to the other, top to bottom, being an itinerant photographer, I got back here and I became a baby photographer in Norwalk. And this is when you still did the babies with a backdrop and a front light, and the baby with a blanket over its head and like this. I did that for 2.5 years. That's where I really learned the craft, and it is a craft. It's an art. I was taking pictures when it was still considered a hobby, not an art form. Now, of course, photography is an art form. Go into any museum, you'll see an entire section devoted to photography. But that's how it all started.
What type of functions or photography do you do through Kenny B now?
As I say, if you're willing to stand in front of my camera, I'll take your picture. But the weddings, the bar mitzvahs, the confirmations, the graduations, they're all kind of few and far between. So I kind of got into flowers. And if you look at my site, you'll open up the page that Grayson made for me, and you will see magnificent flowers. My story, of course, I have a lot of stories. My favorite story is that when I first came to Grayson with my work, I handed him 1,000 photographs and said, make me a website. And of course he came back to me and said, you pick. I said, how can I pick? Every one of the pictures is more gorgeous than the other.
Grayson being your web developer?
Yeah. And now, of course, I have 25,000, 26,000 photographs like the ones you'll see on my website. And each one is more gorgeous than the other. But when it comes to people pictures, that's my forte. Flowers are my passion. People are my forte.
What has technology done to the photographic industry?
It used to cost a fortune. Every time I used to press the button when there was film in my Nikons, every time I pressed the button, it would cost me 25 cents. So you could imagine that you got really particular about the kind of photograph you were going to take, and before you press that button, you were sure it was going to be a good one. Now, of course, there's digital. And digital, who cares? Just waste it. Just pop as many as you want. My problem is if I take 5 pictures of Uncle Harry, 4 of them are perfect. So it's your job to pick out which one of Uncle Harry you like best.
That's a good problem to have.
When I do a wedding, that's the fun for me, to watch the bride, her eyes open. I'm going, which one do I pick? Which one do I pick? And you just say, you pick it. So I'll pick the one with the brightest eyes. When you look at my people pictures, I learned the technique, and I'll tell you this story if you'd like, of no matter where you go in the room, the eyes follow you. When I was in college in Texas, my roommate was a Southern Baptist, God bless him, and he had a picture of Jesus on the door going out to the hallway, and it had 3-dimensional eyes. So no matter where you were in the room, Jesus followed you. It was really spooky, but I learned the technique. And so when you look at my photography, you look at my eyes, the eyes of my subjects, they all follow you no matter where you are, even over here or over here. It's wild. Technique.
So clearly this is something that you're very passionate about and that you just enjoy to do.
If they didn't pay me, I'd pay them. That's how much fun I have.
That's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Special thank you to Ken Blumberg of Kenny B Photography in Stratford, Connecticut. I'm Brian Skinner with InformedEntrepreneur.com. And again, thank you.